Oh my god, I'm not even done with working on Trailer 2's analysis, and Nintendo goes ahead and drops Trailer 3! Well, I guess I have to hop into the hype train of this trailer and pause work on the previous one to work on this one. I'm not gonna make a fancy intro for this, so let's just start, shall we? Hello everyone, I'm DExus, and welcome to the DExus Show. Hi, remember this? If you do, you know what that means. Yep, this video is also going to be split up. This is part 1, and I will be talking about the first half of the trailer, mainly focusing on the newly introduced Mouthful Mode. So if you don't want to miss part 2, you already know what to do. Without further ado, let's just begin. The trailer once more starts with a pre-rendered cutscene in the style of the intro of this game and the intro of Kirby Star Allies. There will possibly be more pre-rendered cutscenes in the rest of the game. Kirby walks in from a door. This cutscene probably plays after Kirby enters a building, this introducing the player to this game's gimmick, which will be talked about soon enough. Actually, thanks to this image in Famitsu's website, we can see that this is the case and that we will get to play this bizarre yet adorable transformation gimmick once the cutscene ends. If you listen closely, the music in the background playing is a curious rendition of the theme from Trailer 2, especially this part. The first thing Kirby sees is this counter. It has a logo and some text, which translates to Holline. We see this name pop up in other places as well. Paying attention to the audio and the cutscene, the car wiggles a little bit with the audio tune. This car is, of course, the same car we see in the game's box art and in the first trailer. Over the car is a billboard that translates to brand new. Then we see our beloved Garurufis pop up from behind the car. This is also indicated with an audio cue. We then see the cuties attack, and when they leap upwards, we see their little toe beads in the pre-rendered quality. I really want a Garurufi as a pet. When Kirby gets ready to counterattack, we once again see Kirby's eyes reflect the light, just like how they do in the previous 2 trailers. We will actually see other glowing things react to light. I will be pointing them out as well. When inhaling, we see some documents lying in the floor. I would translate them, but it's near impossible for me. While Kirby tries to inhale a car, we get to see some text for a split second. It translates to Holline, auto cuss, and then it cuts out. Kirby then gets a mouthful of a delicious car. And surprise! Even Kirby can't swallow everything. I do like how the cutscene for a second leads us to believe that Kirby might have actually turned into a car, only to just show us this hilarious image. When Kirby tries to swallow the car, you can see that it doesn't go down the hatch. Instead, it stretches back into Kirby and right back out. This is some intense stretch action, even for Kirby. Actually, there might be an in-world explanation as to why Kirby has this amount of electricity. According to the translation of this Twitter post given to us by Elfilin, Kirby seems to have gained this ability when coming to this world. Actually, during this pre-rendered cutscene that we can believe to be part of the intro cutscene, we can see Kirby gaining this ability. Look how he flops around. We then see Kirby walking around in that area from the first level that they love to show us in the trailers. After this though, follows a scene with Kirby swimming over the water with a floaty. What truly caught my attention here is Kirby inhaling while floating above the water, something that previously couldn't be done. Another thing to note about this is the fact that Kirby is floating above the water. I believe that this is the only way we'll be able to move in water. We might not be able to dive down into the water and swim underwater at all in this game, which is kinda disappointing, but I understand why they're doing this. We then see Kirby spit out the blipper he inhaled. In the background of this scene, we see the black crocodile enemy. This could be the same place we see Kirby float over in Trailer 1. Notice the small chunk of land, the palm tree to the left hand of it, and the rock formations to its right. What's interesting here is how this is the same exact area we see Kirby land in the Warp Star from Trailer 2. There's actually a Warp Star on the small chunk of land back there, and Kirby enters this stage very near to it. I really wonder why a Warp Star is so close to the landing spot of another Warp Star. We then get a scene in the desert world. This part seems to be a transitional point between the dried ocean and the resort's location, as noted by the corals in the foreground part of the background and then the wind turbines in the back. There isn't much to say about this scene aside from the piece of meat to the right and the hothead standing over a star block. The next scene takes place in the same nighttime carnival level we see in trailer 2. In it, we see Twister in action chasing after Kirby. In this, we see that there's a narrow path and that there are 3 triangles. In between the triangles, there seems to be more brown liquid. We see more of this mud later on in the trailer. The scene where the mud is seen again, we see Kirby use water to clean it off. I wonder if there might be a place for Kirby to gulp up some water and clean the mud off in this part of the level. Since Kirby avoids touching the mud, I wonder if it's harmful or if it at least slows you down. We actually see more mud later on in the path. Putting our view to the side, we can see that this part of the level takes place over the theme park. This scene then shows us more of the first gameplay shot we see in the first trailer. This scene actually gets a slight glow up, having pink petals fall from the sky. We then see an overhead shot of Kirby climbing an escalator from the same mall we see in the first trailer. Nothing much is seen in this scene other than the Garufi sleeping on a little couch and the Cappy to the left. Next up, we see Kirby running into the theme park, right after opening the gate in trailer 2. In this scene, we see a new location, a snow level with a wind gimmick. In this scene, we see a Needlos doing its roll attack, and a Whelp wobbling in the back. Here we see Kirby float 7 times, once again having a height limit. We then follow it up with an extended view of the part of the intro cutscene, where the Beast Pack traps the Waddles in cages. When the Waddle is trapped inside the cage, you can also see its eye reflect the light. I was pointed out that actually, this cutscene doesn't take place in Dreamland. It actually takes place in the Forgotten Land. This is noticeable due to the lack of some of Dreamland's environmental parts like the Pop Sticks and Cheese Mountains. Actually, this scene takes place in the already destroyed Waddle Dee Town, before becoming Waddle Dee Town. We then see Kirby and Elfilin right into the theme park's day level, landing in the same area we see Kirby walk into with some chicks following him in trailer 1. You can actually see 2 of the baby birds here, one to the right and another to the left. Also, the text in this statue translates to Wonderia, the theme park's name. We also see this text in the Ferris wheel. In the entrance gates of Wonderia, we can see a small sign that says the theme park is closed. Then, in this scene, the trailer introduces us to the game's new main gimmick, the Mouthful Mode. When Kirby is near an item he can inhale to activate Mouthful Mode, the item quickly lights up and glows to indicate that it can be inhaled. After the light up effect, the item keeps a sparkling outline. Kirby then gets a quick transformation animation and rides like the wind in the car mouth mode. A cute little detail that makes me giggle every time is how Kirby wiggles his hands when activating car mouth mode. He's so cute! Here we see Kirby dashing about on his little car, and behind the ramp he hops on, in the wall to its back, a silver cage Waddle Dee is kept hostage inside a building. To the right border of this building, we can see a crack. I assume that we have to dash into this wall to break it open and rescue the Waddle Dee friend. Actually, the road Kirby goes in might even straight up guide you to do that. We actually get a bit more footage of the car mouth mode in this Twitter video, where we see Elfilin fly out and pet Kirby while sitting on the car's hood as one of the idle animations. We then see the car in action in another level, one that takes place in the theme park world. Here, Kirby drives around the racetrack, avoiding the mud. If you look closely, the car in this clip is red instead of the blue we're used to seeing. Now we see the same clip seen in the trailer but trimmed down, and we then see more gameplay of this level, with Kirby driving into a hill with cracks on it, confirming my theory of having to drive into a cracked wall to break them open. We now cut back to the Wonderia racetrack level, with Kirby using the red car. In the back, we see a timer counting up to the right of the screen. I assume that we have to make it through the obstacle course as fast as possible to rescue a caged Waddle Dee. This could be the starting point of this obstacle course challenge. We then see Kirby near the finish line. The finish line on it has some text that translates to finish. We then see Carmouth Kirby cause destruction to his benefit everywhere he goes, ending with this awesome shot. In the footage of this ability seen in the game's official Japanese website, we see a bit more footage of the stage. Here we see Kirby dash through the area, destroying everything in its way. I like how when Kirby runs over an enemy, they get squished on the floor. Kirby commits vehicular manslaughter the video game. Here we also see a part of a stage with falling rolling boulders. This part of the level is right before the area where we see Kirby jump off a ramp. You can see it in the background. In some press kit images, we see Kirby take a left towards the right of the speed challenge section from the theme park world. We also see how this transformation will work in co-op. Vending holds into the back of the car and helps Kirby by throwing his spear. Due to a promotional line post from Nintendo, we can see the Carmouth Kirby render edited to have Elfilin and Bandana Waddle riding on top of it, and it's just adorable. They're having a little sibling road trip. I love them all so much. Me when I love every single character in this game. Finally, we see Kirby run up the makeshift ramp we see him make in the previous footage. Looking at the background of this image, we see the bridge that connects to the city, the same location from the previous trailer where we get the release window. The bridge is also seen at the end of this trailer. I bet this is the end of the tutorial level, and the place where we get the glorious title drop. Back to the trailer, we then see Kirby suck up a vending machine, and we get the vending mouth mode. The scene takes place in the same snow level we see in the two previous trailers. While not the same location, it is certainly the same area. We then see the mode in action. Thanks to the game's Japanese website, we get to see more footage of this mode. In it, we see that the vending mouth can be used in what seems to be the game's first level. And we see that Kirby's main form of attack in this mode is by throwing around juice cans. That can be used to defeat enemies and destroy boxes, probably open up holes too. What's interesting about this clip is how the new blue bunny enemies puff up from the sky. I wonder if this is this game's mode of respawning, meaning that the enemies don't respawn due to leaving their spawn area and walking back, and instead by what I can assume could be a timer. During this scene, we also see that the soda cans aren't just used to attack. If they bounce off a wall, they turn into healing items. This is like an updated version of the fridge ability from Kirby 64. Actually, in this game, we see the return of a lot of concepts introduced in Kirby 64, and I will be of course pointing them out. Finally, we see the blue doors I've been oh so obsessing about since trailer 1, being finally broken open, revealing 2 stacks of coins and a ladder that goes upwards. There are 3 more press kit images about this copy ability, but they don't really reveal much. Well, the first 2 that is. The third image takes place in the snow, showing that Kirby still wears his copy ability hat when using this mode. Basically, you don't need to drop your ability to transform into a Mouthful Mode. I assume that when Kirby is near an item, he will not attack with the ability, and will instead take a deep breath and inhale the item. I do want to point out how freaking silly he looks with the hat. He looks so dumb, I tell you. God, I love this goofy little puffball so much. Continuing on in the trailer, we now see the cone mouth. This level somewhat seems like the same level we first see in trailer 2. In the back we also see 2 more cones that are sparkling, so those can also be inhaled. We then see this mode's form of attack, in which he pierces down to break open a pipe. When elevating, we see, what is this? An alcoholic beverage in my Kirby game? Huh, it's more likely than you think. Thanks to this game's Japanese website, we have more gameplay footage of this mode. In it, we see Cone Mouth Kirby use his attack to break a hole into the floor that already had a crack on it, revealing some food items and coins underneath it. Thanks to some press kit images, we see how this ability will be used to defeat a giant enemy. Here we see a turtle using a building as a shell, with golden cage waddles kept inside. You have to break the pipe here to make a platform to jump over to the building, and then you attack it from the top to break it, defeat the turtle, and rescue the caged waddles. Another image shows us this exact scene, with Kirby successfully completing the puzzle and defeating the enemy. We then see Scissor Lift Mouth Mode. Here, we once again see Kirby wearing an ability hat when in one of those modes. To the left, we can see the return of the regular Sphere Gordo. Surprisingly, we hadn't seen them until now. Kirby hops into a hole in the wall and drills into the ground to collect another one of those diamond-shaped star pieces. A red one to be exact. Kirby also digs out a coin. This Mouthful Mode is so meh that it doesn't even have a proper piece of media for it. We then see Ringmouth Kirby. There isn't much interesting stuff in this scene, but what we do know is that this part takes place in the same as in this image. Thanks to it, we get a clearer view of the silver cage that doesn't hold a waddle, but holds a red coin. In the game's Japanese website, we get more footage of Kirby using this ability, starting with him inhaling a circular ring light to gain the mode. Ringmouth Kirby attacks by blowing some massive air gutches, which can be used to solve puzzles and move around in a little boat. When riding the boat, we can see that Kirby hurts enemies when dashing forwards, including the murder of the big black crocodile enemy. Here we see Kirby pass over the world in the water, with it slowly pushing the boat into its center. We then see Kirby pass by some golden caged waddledees. While the clip is all chopped up, it all takes place in the same area. You can see that the second scene takes place in the first scene's background. Back to the trailer, we see Lightbulb Kirby, taking place in the theme park world, possibly the same level as in the clip in the first trailer. Here we see that this light bulb might have fallen from the lamp above, which has another lamp next to it, with its light bulb inside it. We then see Kirby use the light to guide him through a narrow and dark path. To the right of the screen, we see a little panel with a red sun in it. Thanks to footage shown in the game's Japanese website, we see exactly what this is for. It's a switch that is activated when you charge it up with Lightbulb Mouth's ability. With the website footage, we don't see much important details. We only see the return of the crab cardboard cutout. But we do get to listen to this area's music, which is an eerie rendition of Trailer 1's theme. At the end of this clip, we see the exact same area I was pointing out with the blue charge panel. Thanks to a press kit image of this ability, we see the return of the Ghost Gordos from Kirby Triple Deluxe. Shh, quiet, it's sleeping. We then see Kirby gliding about with the Arch Mouth mode, this scene taking place in the beach world. There isn't much to say about this scene here, aside from the big yellow and red rings, which give you coins. We can't tell how many coins though. But there is a bit to say about the footage from the Japanese website. For starters, Kirby gets this mode by inhaling an arch. This is the same archway we see in Trailer 2, meaning that it takes place in the same level. We now get a better look at the adorable Scarfies that get killed with this mode's attack, a spin in the air. On the floor under them is some text that translates to stop. Here we see Kirby glide to the left, but if you look to the right, the wall has a crack. So Kirby can attack when approaching it to break it open and get some goodies. Kirby then passes 3 Gigatsos and avoids some Gordos. Back to the trailer, we are now introduced to Water Balloon Mouth Kirby, which gets filled with water by sucking into a pipe. This scene takes place in the deserted resort we saw in the second trailer. To the bottom right of the screen, we can see a Gabon. We can see that the water is used to wipe off the poison. In the back, we see a big poison blob monster, who might have splashed all that poison in the first place. This poison monster can possibly only be killed by spraying fresh water over it. By the way, the enemies in front of the blob monster here are Totengas, who we first and last saw in Kirby's Return to Dreamland. The Totengas here have gained the ability to move around, unlike how in Return to Dreamland they stand still. To the background of the scene, we can see a golden cage and a red coin in front of it. Thanks to the oh-so-beloved Japanese website of the game, we see more footage of this glorious mode in action, with Kirby cleaning off mud from the floor with water. This clip taking place in Wonderia. Here we can see the new hammer enemy throwing his mallet forwards. The mud appears to hold back some platforms from rising, as shown here. You have to clean the mud off for the platforms to raise. Then we see that Kirby can barely jump with this ability. Say it with me, he looks really dumb, and I love it! Then he gets targeted by the new bunny enemy, and he quickly gets rid of the problem. We can see one way this mode will be used to solve puzzles, by spitting water on some dead flowers, who recover and magically grant Kirby a stack of coins. To the back there, we can see our first look at Chili. And the stand with Wonderia's map translates to, surprise surprise, park map. We then get a question answered. How will Kirby exit these mouthful modes? Well, by spitting out the items, of course. This answers one question, but raises another. How exactly does he spit out the item? We know that there are 4 buttons, A, B, X, and Y. A is used to jump, B to attack, Y to possibly do a second attack like in Kirby Battle Royale, and I'll get to X later. The only other option that this leaves is the minus button to eject an ability. But what if Kirby already has an ability when in this mode? Does he leave the mode first and then the ability? Is it the other way around? Or is it another button altogether? The world will never know. Well, until March 25th that is. And with this, I finish part 1 of this analysis. Luckily, this trailer doesn't have that much compared to the previous trailer, so there won't be a part 3. But there will definitely be a part 2 covering these new copy abilities. Because, oh my god, this is really big, this is really exciting, and there's a lot to talk about. So, see you in part 2. Have a great day. goodbye.